Okay. Welcome, Tanya. So happy to have you here to talk about personnel. You were just saying you've been here for 7 months or so.
I was saying, I have those days where trying to learn everything and challenging days. And then I have those days where I'm like, oh, okay, I got this. But thank you for asking. So far, so good.
Okay, so we do we have anything in it's kind of not a lot of capital projects and revenue when it comes
Yeah,
to personnel. So tell us
no.
what are we looking at here?
There isn't really. So the budget that we put together, this is Tanya's first year doing that. Dale, Tom, and I looked at what we've been spending in these different categories historically, and then just sort of match that historical trend. Let me see if I can. I have 3 of these, and I brought
Page 17,
the
Q,
wrong one,
on the department narratives.
So, one of the things that the personnel office does, obviously, is hire and take care of all the paperwork. They also do the management of all of our insurance, health insurance, dental insurance, those kind of things. And then they're responsible for some of our public safety training, for the public works department. And so you'll see things like that in this budget. We are going to partner this year. CSEA has offered to bring in some of their trainers to do things like trench work and safety. And then our insurance company has also offered to come in and do safety programming and things like that. So there's really nothing outstanding here that's big or shocking. It's really just pretty standard budget, so.
There you go.
But
It's 0%
Tanya's doing
change
a
on almost
great
everything.
job. She's had a lot on her plate this year. We've had some turnover and we've had some hiring, and she's worked through some of the civil service issues that I've been sharing with all of you, so she's a great sport on that. We are looking this year to work with civil service at Westchester County to look at all of our job descriptions and make sure that those are right. So that'll be a major project, but there's no budget associated with that, because it's really just a matter of getting employees to fill out the forms and tell us what to do, and then we review them and review them with the county. And that way we can make sure that we're starting to get titles at the county that actually reflect the work that we want to have done by the employees in all of the different departments. One of them being code enforcement, the difference between the county's definition and our definition. So how do we distinguish the difference, things like that. So, do you want to say how it's going?
I think it's going well. One of the things when Debbie mentioned about like some training, one of the things that I have been very fortunate with is that I've had some good relationships with the county. So I know that some of the training opportunities that are there, so I'm trying to like foster certain relationships so that I can see what trainings they'll provide the village. That, it's not necessarily a cost, but it could be a shared service as well. So I've just been looking into some of those things and looking at avenues that, people would not have necessarily thought about. One of them is like just posting things when we have openings on Indeed. You can do the free search. Also utilizing the Department of Labor, using their job workforce, and sometimes allowing the employer to get some of that credit back. So I've been utilizing, where I came from, I utilized it, and I'm trying to utilize those relationships again to also help. And like Debbie said, we're looking at some of the job descriptions because a lot of people don't realize, like when they want to apply for a job with the county, they don't realize the process that they have to go through. So when people call and ask me, I tell them not only the process, I tell them what they need to do. I tell them you have to take an exam. And so I try, like I had a woman today come in and ask me that, and I walked her through the whole thing, showed her the website. So a lot of people have found it very helpful just to have that explanation. And when we have people that are applying for jobs and they're on the list, I even explain to them the process that, if you and I hold the same number, it's not a reflection on you, but it's just where it is on the list and how it falls and everything. So they've been very appreciative just for that. And I tell them it's no reflection on them and their experience. So far, so good.
She's also working with Jamie to make sure that all of the jobs are posted on our website. And we have, divided it into, these are civil service jobs, so you have to apply online and take the test and that kind of stuff. And then these are the ones that you can apply directly. So we're trying to improve that for,
So since you brought that up, so for those positions, like a laborer that may not be a civil service competitive, are you posting when it becomes available? Are you posting, are you posting as soon as it becomes available, regardless of whether the department wants to post someone else from another department? Like, what's that process?
so that's a good question, because the union dictates that we advertise to the union first
Okay.
and give them an opportunity. I'm not gonna put it online if we have somebody that's shifting around.
Okay.
And even where I previously came from, you always post it, and there's you can post it for a certain number of days. Usually it's 15. You post it internally, you exhaust all the internal applicants first, and if there's you still receive external if people come in, but then you can post it externally at that point. And then if there's no one, we can repost it, we could put it on the website. But 9 times out of 10, like you're saying, the non-competitive, get a lot of people that will apply for laborer positions.
So are you telling me that what we do here is that we push it out internally? Like, is first? Now, is that for 15 days, or do we just push it
Yeah,
out
what's the-
until?
It depends. Sometimes it has been for 15 days, like it depends on what holidays are in and when it gets posted. I always, like if it's in the middle of a week, I always give the extra days, like the 2 or 3 extra days, so that people have time to kind of get it in, and then give the department head, like I start giving it to the department head so they can look through. I try to do that. I try to do it fairly quickly. On average, it's 10, but sometimes it has been 15.
Okay, and then after that,
Then-
you post it. Now, if someone internally says, so say if a laborer and I'm in the Parks Department, but I want to go DPW, just for example, if they have someone in mind and someone is they're going to fill out the position or something like that, then you won't post it publicly.
Correct. If we fill
Okay.
it internally, yes.
Okay.
But there's always the other side of that. There's always what is the position the person is vacating that is now gonna move to the laborer position. So, parks, grounds person also wouldn't be a competitive one. So and we know that you're not gonna shift around to that because it's the lowest paying position, so we would just automatically post that.
Okay. Okay, and we've been doing that, or?
Yes, we have
Okay.
been. We try to
We're
do it
getting better at it.
simultaneously.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way. We're getting better at it.
Okay.
We're getting in the groove.
Okay.
Questions for Tanya?
I just wanted to say I was very glad to see that you included in your 2019 goals the lockdown procedures in the workplace. As we all know, safety and when it comes to personnel and workforce preparedness, what's their role in an emergency outside of just the police and fire, and I think that's huge. And we have a lot of space and buildings to cover in case something happens, right? So, and I know we have OEM, the Office of Emergency Management, but I think this is a little different because it actually has to do with our employees.
Yes.
So,
I also, I have fostered a relationship with, a couple of individuals at PESH. And so they sometimes provide us, if you utilize the services, they also provide you with consultation services that are at no cost, that sometimes they come in, and I'm still working with someone to do that. They come in and they look at everything across the board, like the safety stuff. So that's one of my goals for 2019.
that's great. Just remind me what PESH stands for.
Public.
I forget. Public employment, safety, something.
Okay, sorry, I just didn't know. So,
But I can find out for
okay,
you.
no, thank you. I could look it up. I just didn't. I wanted to ask.
Sometimes they come and give you sort of a surprise visit,
Yes, they do.
and we've done well in the past. so.
Yes, historically, you guys have done very well.
Healthcare is something I know we're going to be talking about this year. I don't know if we want to delve into that tonight, because that could be a really big conversation unto itself, and it's not really going to, are there elements of any healthcare plan changes that will, that are going to influence our budget? Because if there are projected savings, how are we accounting for that?
So, I'll jump in on that one. The committee met and they made a recommendation, but I've asked Tanya to have the team meet with Tom and Dale just to verify exactly what the numbers are, because I want us all to be comfortable before we actually come to you with a recommendation.
We still haven't gotten the number, because I've been hearing that for 2 months.
No, we still don't have the rates.
We didn't have any of the rates until, I think, November, the beginning of November. And now we have a couple questions that we want them to be able to vet past Dale and Tom before we proceed.
So we weren't expecting the rates until November. We had been given some preliminaries, but we couldn't count on them until November, so we just.
So now we have the numbers, but you want to
Now I
double check
wanna-
them?
I want to vet them with Tom and Dale to make sure that we're all looking at the same thing and it's all saying exactly the same thing.
Okay, that's a big number, that it would behoove us to know it before we determine our budget 3 weeks from now, right? Because theoretically, there's six-figure savings. Is it low six, mid six? Like, that's big, that's significant. Are we gonna know it?
We'll know it. We'll know it.
By when? Because we have to decide what our tax rate is, and that's a key piece of information.
We'll know it in time for you.
What are we assuming it with this proposed
We're
budget?
assuming that the rates are the same as they are this year.
Okay.
All right.
Because it hasn't been done, it
I
hasn't
think you
been.
also said in the first year, you're not so sure there's.
Not so
a-
sure, yeah,
Exactly.
We
yeah.
talked about this, there's a
Right.
transition
To
period.
finish
which
the-
means
Transition
you'll-
period,
Yes.
and then you wouldn't
year.
actually see the
We're
savings.
not gonna
until-
see the
Right.
savings for
Yep.
the
This year.
first X.
Because we're gonna have a cutover
Yeah.
period.
Yep.
Yes.
So we'll see where that falls.
But also, I'm not so sure, sorry, that NISHIP has come out with their final rates yet for 2019. They take a while. I know there's a projected, and I had used a projected increase for the town budget because they have them, but I haven't heard that they came out with a final rate structure yet.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the project is, we should obviously use the most conservative end of the
Right.
projected range, which is what they had originally provided us with a projected range, like 2 months ago when you guys met when the committee met and made the decision. Maybe it was only 1 month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, whatever it was. And I think the number that was being bandied around was not quite the most conservative. I would say use the most conservative number for where we are. So what is the number that they came back with? Where does that fit on the range of predicted numbers? You're having them relook at the number that you just got last week. The number that you got last week, where did that fit in the projected range?
I don't recall. I mean, I know
They,
that
they,
when
u- they used a higher level of projection, increase-wise, than will potentially happen.
Yeah,
It's-
so we should use the
yes.
most conservative number because we
Right.
don't want to be caught
Right,
not ready to handle
Right.
the cost. But
right. Mm-hmm, yeah, yeah.
they sure as heck do not want to tell me.
They don't want to tell you.
But that's what we're doing here, is we're learning the numbers.
Just say, they're gonna vet it?
I have to say that I think that the reason that we're hesitating is because we don't want to put something out there in the public that says, oh, we're going to save $500,000 and then we don't. And so I think that we're very, very cautious of giving you a number until we have vetted it completely and we're absolutely certain. And then there's always the rollover transition. So
Explain the rollover transition to us a little bit more. Let's say at some point in the next year, it could be the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, we transition to NISHIP. Then you've got everybody's healthcare expenses from 2018 up until whenever, is there a certain date by we have to transition? There's certain sign-up dates in
Well,
2019?
it really depends on when we get it approved, like when we're going to go to, if we're going to go to the New York State Insurance Plan, whether it's like March, January, February,
It
depends
can be
on the
any month, you're saying?
Correct.
It's not like we have to do it at
No.
the,
And then the
beginning of a
rollover
quarter.
period will be up until, so if it's not till March, it's like up through that first quarter, and they have to sort of, have the funds there to pay for any claims that come in.
That's to help you offboard all existing, right, up to that point, right? Okay.
So you always have that 3-month lag to get your expenses in. So at December 31st, you have up to 3 months to submit everything that you had for the prior year. If we cut it off and say we're gonna go to NISHIP on April 1st, then we have 3 months plus 3 months of rollover. So, because you have 3 months past that date of, that you end, to file all your claims. And we won't know what those are because we're self-insured.
You gotta close the books first to, yeah,
Right.
because then you're completely
So we'll
off.
have an extra
That's what
quarter,
the
we'll have
roll-
an extra quarter of 2018 rates that are gonna be added on to our, whenever we start. So then the question becomes, when do we have that additional quarter of rollover time? When does it begin? And we don't know that. You don't know that. That's gonna be a decision that's made in 2019. You're gonna clarify something for me, Tom. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, like, under normal circumstances, we leave our books open through March, and all those prior year expenses that get submitted in January, February, March get accrued as of December 31st, so.
But I think she's talking about what, after, in January and February of 19, those could take up until June of next year to get
Right.
on our books and paid out, so.
But it would still presumably be just 3 months' worth of expenses, even if we're keeping,
Right.
you know, the expenses in April, May, June, we would still, those would still be first quarter expenses. So I'm not really sure that there's like an extra quarter of expenses that we're going to have to absorb.
Thank you, because people aren't gonna go to the doctor twice as many times in a given quarter. It's just that they may be paying the higher rates from the old plan longer, and we don't know when
Right.
that
And we
plan.
don't know what that is.
Thank you.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, Tanya.
Thanks, Tanya.
Have a good evening.
Happy to.